Hello and good morning, everyone. It's Michelle Mahar here, and I'm here this morning with Cheyenne Dominguez. Thank you so much, Cheyenne, for giving me your time to be a guest on my interview series, Pivot with Positivity, where we talk about keeping a positive attitude and getting creative in our business and our life, dealing with the current environment that we're in. So thank you, Cheyenne. If you want to just let us know who you are.
Well, thanks so much for having me, Michelle. What an honor to be with you. I know you've done lots of great interviews. So I am Cheyenne Dominguez, and I live in the Annapolis, Maryland area. And I am kind of in quarantine now with my husband and two boys. I run a virtual kind of walking club for women. We do a family podcast down with the Dominguezes, and my two boys are in 2nd grade and 10th grade. And my husband is working from home from the basement, which we're calling the executive level. So that's kind of a snapshot of what's going on in my house.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So you're very, that's very common, what is happening in terms of everybody being at home. The kids are at home. You've got a spouse working at home, and it's basically trying to navigate the space and new routines and new arrangements as you work and live together 24 hours a day.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I know for myself, there was a lot of the, I really went through the whole fear process at the beginning, because it was just so much uncertainty and overwhelm as everything was canceled one after another. For me, I had vendor events where I had tables selling my jewelry, all planned for March, April, and May. And each one was postponed and has been now. Some of them have been postponed twice. They're all in the fall right now, but we don't know what we're going to be seeing in terms of live events, even in the fall at the rate we're going. I think in the beginning, it was very, also, as we were talking before, the school was closed for 2 or 3 weeks. It was kind of like, let's see what's really happening.
Right.
And I think you said that was the case for your situation as well for the schooling.
Yeah. So at first it was an announcement that it would be a 2-week closure with the intention of coming back after that. And then the closure was extended for a week. And then there was a shift to, well, school's going to be open, but we're going to shift to online temporarily. And then there was kind of a week of an online learning curve. So the kids, I think, did quite well actually with shifting to using Google Classroom, which you said was what your daughter's using. I noticed that I think that there was a technology learning curve for the teachers. I could see on the other end of my kids' screens that teachers were asked, is this comment private or is this public? Testing different things. And so we moved to online school, wondering still if they were going to go back before the end of the year. And then more recently, there was an announcement that school would be closed. They're going to just finish out online through June. And that's where we're at. And I guess, I think the hardest part of this is, or one of the hard parts is not being able to plan ahead, right? Because things are kind of changing sometimes by the week, sometimes by the day. And getting that information, then having to, be flexible. So right now, I'm even trying to think about school in September. While it would be wonderful, school's open, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, okay, if it's not, let me kind of play out all the different scenarios so that we can kind of not feel total shock and awe if what we want to happen is not able to happen. So I think for us, for me, it's been, really just trying to stay flexible and go with the flow as best I can.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And that's all we can do. I think that the biggest fear and challenge at the beginning was just that loss of control and the uncertainty. And everybody's used to their routines and having control and knowing what's happening and what's happening next. And all of a sudden, everything was just taken away from us. It was like the rug was pulled out from under us.
Totally.
I think what really hit me was when they canceled sports. I'm not a sports fan myself, but I know that that's huge. Like that's something
That
that never happens.
That's interesting you say that, because sports and athletics is a big deal in our house. I mean, my boys are very active. They are involved in a lot of sports, from swimming to running to soccer and basketball. And my husband is very athletic. He loves coaching the kids. So it has been, that has probably been one of the hardest parts, I think, on the kids, besides not being able to just kind of hang out with their friends.
Yeah.
It's really missing their athletics time, because that was not only their physical activity, but it was their hobby. It was kind of a stress reliever. So it served a lot of purposes in our house, and we have definitely had to get creative in filling that void as best as possible. But athletics is huge in our house. So we're
Right.
like sports center 2 here. There's always sports going on in our family. So that's been a challenge. We've had to try to fill that gap. So we're doing things like we're lucky enough to have a backyard, some green space in the backyard. So we put up a badminton net. We can all play badminton together, get some fresh air. We've been doing a family walk every day. Just, before or after dinner, we go for a 1-mile walk. It's 15 or 20 minutes together, but at least it's something we have to look forward to toward the end of every day. We're going to go for a walk together as a family, get some fresh air, get some movement in. And then the other thing is, my husband's working from home all day, but I was able to put him in charge of recess every day. So that's like so I'm taking care of all the academic piece with the kids. And my husband has been a great sport about it. He's in charge of recess. So he'll kind of plan out, all right, we're going to, go for a run during recess, or we're going to kick the soccer ball around, or throw the football around. So I put him in charge of recess, more, so the kids get something in the middle of the day, and, just kind of change it up a little bit. So they're not also just, getting instruction from mom all day. They get a little, fun time with dad. So we've tried to fill the gaps. It hasn't filled it completely, but we've certainly, just tried to get creative with it.
Right. Yeah, no, that's a great idea. And it also gives your husband a break too, because when you're working from home, at the sitting at the desk or on meetings
all day,
all day, you do need that break in between.
Absolutely, because he's on calls from morning till night if he lets it go that long. So so it's nice to get up middle of the day, stretch your legs, run around, and thankfully the weather continues to improve. It's getting warmer and warmer, so that's been to our advantage.
Right. Yes. And here as well, the weather is improving. Actually, now it's gone to quite warm. From 2 weeks ago, where we almost had snow on the ground, to now.
It was a snowstorm in May or something. It was crazy.
Yes, and now we're having the air conditioning on. So
yeah.
It's crazy weather, but now at least you can get out. Even when we started this mid-March, it was much better than starting being quarantined at home if it was January, because at least in mid-March people were still able to get out walking and everything, because really the getting out into nature has so much, so many benefits, as when you with your walking club.
Mm-hmm.
Just it gives you the chance to be with yourself, to sit and reflect, to rejuvenate you.
Absolutely.
Some people, it's also a form of meditation, like a walking meditation, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, last year, I don't want to say, about maybe 6 to 10 months ago, I started taking a daily walk for really not just to my own physical health, but kind of for mental clarity. So I would just kind of decided that every day I'm going to go for a walk. And I have begun to love it so much that now that's like basically my non-negotiable self-care every day, is that I kind of budget time in my day to go for a walk by myself. And I'll either just walk, quietly and not listen to anything. Sometimes I'll plan to talk with a friend on the phone. And that's really nice, because when I'm walking by myself, when I'm at home talking on the phone, I tend to have interruptions from my family members. Mom, where's this? Mom, where's that? Can I do this? Can I do that? And so talking with a friend is sometimes more of a chore when everyone's around than when I'm going for a walk. So I put in my earbuds and I talk with a friend on the phone, or I listen to a podcast, or I listen to music. And that has become I'm just enjoying time outside with myself, maybe with a friend, and that time in nature, Michelle. I mean, that is like rejuvenating for me every single day, even if it's just 15 or 20 minutes. So for anyone watching, if there's, any one thing I recommend doing for yourself, if you can, is take a walk, even if it's a few minutes out in nature, and you're going to feel better. You can't take a walk and then feel worse.
That's totally true.
Yeah.
And it's more important than ever right now, I think, to get in that self-care.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, as well, when you are there with everybody else in the house for 24 hours a day, you need that time. You just need that time to yourself, just
Absolutely.
to get out and actually be by yourself.
Yeah.
Without any interruptions.
That's my non-negotiable for myself every day. And it doesn't need to be an hour or two, it doesn't need to be a long time. Sometimes, like I said, even if it's just a mile, that's kind of like my minimum 15 or 20 minutes. And usually I can spend a little more time than that, but even that little bit makes a huge difference in my day, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely it would.
One of the other things we've been doing in our house that I found really helpful was I was trying to do like a new quarantine routine, and I found that every day seemed to bring kind of some different schedule challenges. And so I started with my youngest having like a little morning meeting together, the two of us, and we'd kind of plan out what the day was going to look like for the day. And so it was, partly based on how much schoolwork he had for that day. Some days there's a little bit, some days there's, more than a little bit. Some days he would have a video conference with his teacher or some of his classmates. And so we kind of planned out what the day was going to look like when I wasn't able to plan, like weeks ahead of time. I thought, you know what? It's even getting to the point where it's kind of hard to plan for a whole week. Why don't we just sit down each morning and say, okay, this is what our day is going to look like. And while you're doing your schoolwork, then that's when mommy's going to do her work, right? So I'm going to be on the computer, or I'm going to be on the phone, and that's helped me. So if you have younger ones at home who need guidance and direction, like that has been very helpful for my youngest to just sit down and say, okay, this is what we're doing just today. And, this is when schoolwork will be. This is when, daddy can do recess with you. This is mommy's going to be on the phone while you're doing your schoolwork. So that has helped a lot. And just kind of setting out the nuances of each day, and just talking about what it's going to look like today and today only. So that's been helpful.
Right. That's a very good idea. And I've heard some people talk about that as well. But like you say, you cannot even try
plan
to
too
plan
far ahead.
Too far ahead. You don't know what's happening.
Right.
And that is definitely helpful for especially the younger kids, to give them direction so that they know what's happening. I can't imagine how this whole situation is feeling to some of the kids that are younger. Like my youngest she's 17, so her biggest thing was that she is not able to see her friends and hang out at Starbucks like she would normally do.
I think that's a big challenge for teenagers, because we have a teenager also. He's almost 16, and I think that's been, that's a difficult time. That's the time of your life where you're supposed to be socializing, hang out with friends, and coming of age, and socializing with your friends is such a big part of that. And so, I think it's a really challenging time for teenagers. They're trying to figure out, even though they're very tech savvy, they still do like their time with their friends. And this, my teenager is the one kind of asking, well, when's this going to come back? When's that going to come back? When can I play basketball again? And it's, and I've just had to be honest, we don't know. We're just going to take it day by day. And we're going to do what we can, do our part to stay, safe as possible. And we're going to take it day by day and see what happens. And I don't have all the answers, but I know it's a challenging time for teenagers.
Yes, it is definitely. And that's the thing. This is really what this is really teaching us is to be present and to live in the now, in the present. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
before we'd be running around, rushing, thinking of the next thing you
The
had to
next
do, and the
thing.
next thing you had to do, and the next thing you had to do, and so on. Now we're just, we have the time to just sit and be present and,
Yeah.
think, like I said, reflect on your life and reflect on things that you're doing. And maybe there's something that you've always wanted to do that you would always say, I don't have time. I'd love to do this, but I don't have time. And
Yeah.
that kind of thing, whether it be something in your personal life or related to your business.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of this has really given us, the gift of having time to reflect, like I say, because there's no outside distractions anymore. They've
Mm-hmm.
all been removed. So you have the
Yeah.
time to figure out.
I know, and I keep hearing that saying, or maybe I keep hearing the saying because it resonates with me, but I keep hearing the saying, if not now, then when? And so that's kind of how I, internalize this and look at it and think, okay, well, all those things I've been wanting to do, if I don't do them now or can't do them now, then when? When will I ever do them? Then maybe I didn't really ever want to do them if I'm not doing them now, right?
True.
So
Yeah.
if not now, then when is kind of my own sort of personal mantra that I'm using to think about this in a positive way, to think about doing things that I have always said, I wish I had time to do. And I'm doing some of them. I've picked up the piano again. I used to play as a kid, and then I've, kind of lost most memory of it. And so I picked it up again. I downloaded an app. And it was like, for less than $100, I can take piano lessons with this app on my phone, and it's really neat. So I've been doing a few minutes of that each day. So just, little things. And the other thing is, I think that there seems to be like a lot of pressure in some ways to like use this time to learn something new, which is great if you're a person who right now would like to learn something new. But if you don't feel pressured to learn something new right now
Right.
either. So that's the other, side of it. I hear, now's the time to learn something new, a new language, or, you're going to learn to speak German or Russian or Spanish, or that can be a lot of pressure to put on yourself right now when we're just taking things day by day. Right. So, if you don't want to learn something new right now, don't. Right. So just, take it day by day. And I tell myself, if not now, then when, for the couple of things that I have been wanting to do.
Right. True. And that's a very important point as well. There's this whole time is actually very similar to grief. We're
Mm-hmm.
grieving our old life.
Yeah.
And there's so many emotions going along with this. And I have found for myself, there's been a lot of up and down.
Mm-hmm.
I was feeling better about things, but then I might see something on social media or hear something in the news, and then all of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden you go back down again. So
Right.
a lot of emotions that we're feeling right now.
Yeah.
And like you say, it's very important not to judge, because there's a lot of pressure. There's so much available online. So many people have stepped up providing free content and free
Mm-hmm.
webinars, and you can
Classes and
take a course in happiness from Yale University.
yeah.
You can, if you really want to, you could sign up for something to do something the entire day. You could be on the
Mm-hmm.
computer on Zoom or whatever.
Yeah.
But the fact is that you have to you have to feel those emotions and let them go through you,
Yeah.
as opposed to pushing everything away. And I know there was definitely a tendency to get overwhelmed
Mm-hmm.
and feel like you should be signing up for everything. So
Right. Like you should just be, signing up for everything because there's so much available now.
yeah,
So,
because I was kind of doing that at one point, and then I thought, oh my gosh, I cannot do all this. I'm
right.
trying to do these interviews. I'm trying to do my jewelry videos.
Right.
I'm signing up. There's, because there's a lot of things I still want to learn, and I know
Right.
there's so much I still can learn, but it just gets a bit crazy. And then
And
I
we
had to
can
step
really
back.
still fill our day
Yes.
you know, with everything that's available to us now. So it's interesting how that works. It's like, you know, when you see gaps in your schedule, it's like, oh, I could do this and I could sign up for that. And then, you know, it's too much to keep track of, to keep, you know, you can only keep so many balls in the air and keep your time and attention and focus on so many things at a time.
Right. And we need to give ourselves, you know, the time to just be and sit and rest and just especially for some people that were going, you know, with our busy schedules before,
Yeah.
take advantage of this time to just kind of sit and
yeah.
I know for me, it's hard. I find it very hard to sit and relax. So
Absolutely, me too. I mean, I kind of look back and think I was like running around like a chicken with its head cut off. That's how that saying is. Like I was, you know, drop off, pick up, running a business, drop off, pick up, you know, taking care of household things. So I am definitely enjoying a less hurried life right now. So I am definitely very aware of how less hurried our household is in comparison to before. And I'm really taking note of that. I'm really appreciating that. And I'm thinking there are some things I would like for us to have back, but I don't miss running around always, you know, having to get to the next thing.
Right.
So, you know, I'm really kind of looking forward to not necessarily going back to the old way, but, you know, just trying to carve out what a new way will look like in the future and being very cognizant of how nice it feels now to not be so hurried all the time.
Right. Yeah. And I agree. And I think that's going to be the case for a lot of people. They've realized that we don't need to go back to that hurried lifestyle. I think that a lot of I'm not sure how it's going to work going forward, but everybody who has come to be working from home, perhaps some of these companies will embrace the working from home on a, you know, part-time basis, not necessarily full-time, but one day a week or something like that, or on occasion. And that kind of gives you the chance to not have that commute, depending on what your commute's like. I mean, here in Toronto, we have a lot of traffic and you're guaranteed an hour each way, pretty much.
Yeah, wherever you're going.
Unless you're
same here.
Know,
we're kind of outside of the DC corridor, the Washington DC corridor, where traffic is really bad. So we're just outside of that. But, you know, once you get close to that, if you're working in DC or Baltimore, I mean, it's a really, you know, was a part of daily life, and it is nice to not have to, you know, kind of tackle that every single day and deal with that as part of everyday life. It's nice.
It is. It's very nice because traffic is definitely a source of stress.
Right. Nothing enjoyable about that.
So it's nice to see that. But when you talk about just having to navigate with everybody being at home, it's almost like I did see some one of these memes on, you know, on social media talking about moms.
Yep.
And really moms are having to take up a lot of the extra duties in terms of schooling and things like that. And it's like we have a bit more now that everybody's at home, just juggling the fact that everybody's at home and you know, the parents are working, the kids are trying to do schoolwork, and you're trying to deal with your space and getting it all done. And then everybody's home for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And
yes, exactly.
It's actually, I'm finding that, you know, there's an added responsibility there that takes up some of your time just navigating the household.
Absolutely. I mean, it's kind of like, you know, trying to make sure everyone has a space for themselves to do their, you know, online work or school. So that's number one. And, you know, thankfully we have enough spaces, but even still with that, you know, we do have to kind of spread out. We have to be thoughtful if someone's got a video conference or a really important call, or, you know, that we don't have the kids, gaming on video games at the same time, that might slow down the bandwidth,
Oh, yeah.
trying to like be be cognizant of like if everyone's gaming at the same time or everyone's video conferencing at the same time, someone's going to have issues, even with good connection. And also, limiting screen time for the kids. And they're getting a lot more than they ever did before, but still, it's not going to be on a screen all day, every day. And so just kind of being cognizant of that. And so when the kids aren't on their screens, they tend to need, more attention from mom and dad. So if they're not on screens, well, then I probably can't be on my screen. I can't focus on my screen at that time. So it's kind of all of these things navigating the house. And then, mealtime has been, that's a real thing, to have to do 3 meals a day for your family. It's like it can be a lot. So, our teenager, I kind of now, since he sleeps in a little bit later, stays up a little later.
Yeah.
So breakfast and lunch, he's not on our schedule. But then if I make lunch and breakfast for him, then that would be 2 separate meals a day, and then it'd be up to 5 meals. So now I'm like, okay, you can forage for food for breakfast and lunch, and we'll have dinner together. So you have to kind of make some, just being flexible, I think, is important. And I was even thinking this morning, I was like, oh my gosh, so I'm thinking about summertime, 3 meals a day, every day. I'm thinking, do we really need 3 meals a day? Could we do 2 meals? Could we do like brunch and then an early dinner, like brunch and dinner or something like that? So I'm already thinking, okay, how can I scale this back to like 2 meals a day? I think it would be just fine. Like, I don't think, if we don't have 3 square meals a day, like nothing's going to happen. If we have brunch and dinner. So that's where I'm going. That's going to be my next, my next experiment, Michelle, is could I do 2 meals a day? Can we do brunch and dinner and get away with it?
Yeah. I'm kind of missing the chance to go out to eat somewhere and getting that break in there, because it's getting hard to keep thinking of, all these meals and what to eat and one day's running into the next 2. The weekends don't necessarily feel much different than during the week either. And
I feel you. Well, I'll let you know how my experiment goes. That's kind of what I've got in mind. We're going to move to 2 meals a day to take 1 meal off mom's plate. So if any moms are watching, if you try it, let me know how it goes.
Sure. Yes, for sure. So what is happening in terms of things opening up down there?
So right now, Maryland, we're in like phase 1 of reopening. And so some businesses are able to reopen with special considerations in place. So like, I know the golf courses have reopened, tennis courts have reopened, parks have opened. I don't think our trails ever closed, but I think the larger park systems is opening now. Restaurants that have outdoor seating are opening up. So things are starting to reopen. Masks are highly encouraged everywhere. They're not mandatory, but they are very highly encouraged. Most people seem to be wearing them around here. And so things are kind of opening slowly and cautiously, I guess, is sort of the scene here.
Right. Okay. It's pretty similar here.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing the same kind of opening, except no restaurants with any seating, whether it's patio or not. At this point, it's not. It's just the restaurants are having to rely on the takeaway,
the curbside pickup or the takeout.
Pickup.
Yeah, we have that as well. We've been trying to, at least once a week, order curbside pickup from a restaurant and a local restaurant.
And to support the local businesses.
To support them, but as best we can. But it's going to be really difficult, I think, especially for, service-based businesses like restaurants. So we'll just have to see how it goes, one day at a time.
Yeah. So we have the same thing, curbside pickup, and everybody's trying to support the local businesses wherever possible. But of course, that's never going to replace the in-person dining that they had prior to this.
Yes.
We have a lot of support from the government in terms of some income support and some loans and landlord support and things like that. But some of the brick and mortar stores have really had to get creative. I know a friend of mine who owns a clothing boutique. During this period of time, she has now developed a website, an online website for her clothing boutique, which she didn't have before. So going forward, she's going to have both of them. She'll have the physical space of her store, and in addition, she will have that online portal as well. And I think from what I've heard, there's been quite a few people doing that same idea, taking this time to develop a website. My jewelry supplier as well, that's what she's done, to develop a website with which is something she didn't have before, which actually I like, because she's on the other side of the city, and so now if I can order online and have it delivered, it's going to be a lot easier for me as well. For some of the things.
Sure, for some of the things. So a friend of mine has a boutique in Pennsylvania, a clothing boutique. It's clothing, mostly clothing, but some shoes and accessories as well. And, what I think brilliantly, very quickly at sort of the beginning of quarantine, she shifted to like a hybrid, like think of like those clothing subscription boxes where you can get a box of clothing each month. So she kind of took that model and made it her own. So she contacted, they're kind of called their clients and said, here's what we're going to do. We can pick out outfits for you, based on the information we have. And since she was a small boutique, she had a lot of information, on each of her clients and their sizes and their styles. And so she would kind of do, well, we're going to send you a box, free shipping, keep the items that you love, and we'll charge you for them. And then send back in the box, free shipping, the items that you don't love, and you won't be charged for those. So it's kind of just really neat how she took on this sort of adopted something like a subscription box business, even though she wasn't charging a monthly subscription for it, but it was a way for her to stay, really top of mind and front and center with a lot of her clients. And they had a lot of fun with it. I saw women, trying on their outfits, and then they posted them on social media and said, I love the jacket and the pants, I'm going to swap out the shirt, but, what do you guys think? Should I keep this pair of shoes or that pair of shoes? So it was a lot of fun. I think she did a great job of that. Another friend of mine, she didn't have an online website yet, and she's a consultant, or she wasn't selling services through her website. But what she did was she started doing what she calls mental health check-ins with her clients. So she started, just having a regular phone call with each of her clients to just, again, stay top of mind, build a relationship in a new way. And I thought, well, that's really brilliant, because, it's sometimes we forget, to just talk on the phone or call somebody on the phone, to just have a phone conversation. It's easy. You don't have to have your makeup on or your hair done, like you do for video conference sometimes. And she was just doing these phone check-ins with her clients. And she said that's been really successful. So I think that's a great idea. She's not in a position where she can sell her services online right now, but she's still staying top of mind and still building her client base and those relationships.
Right. And that's exactly it. That's what this time is all about. At the beginning, there was a lot of fear. You didn't want to be selling, you didn't want to come across selling online. So it was really a time to serve your clients and just act, like you say, check in on them, see how people are doing, call them without expecting anything, just to have a conversation. And this is a time for relationship building, so that we can go forward. Like you said, staying top of mind is key, because that people are still going to need the services after, just like for the hair salons and the nail salons. People are going to be
my nails look so bad.
Mine
I've been trying to do them myself, but it's not the same.
But people are, people want those services. So it's very important to stay top of mind, so that people will come back to you.
Absolutely.
Because at the same time, if somebody else starts, providing information and online and videos and things like that, your customers might like that person that they didn't know
their
before.
attention could be redirected. Absolutely.
Yeah, because everybody's attention is online now. So this is the time to provide education and continue to build relationships.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, so I love that she was doing that. I just thought that was such a great idea. And she's trying to be like, when she does these check-ins or calls, she's trying to do it with a mindset of like being helpful. Are there any resources she knows about? Can she connect this person with another person? So like you were saying, reaching out without really any expectations of receiving, but, reaching out with sort of the mindset to try to be supportive, helpful, resourceful. I think that goes a long way.
It does. And I've seen a lot of it. I've seen a lot of community coming together. I've seen a lot of people offering their services, whatever they can do to help. And they've just reached out to, whoever's in their network and just saying, if anybody needs to talk to somebody, I'm here for you. So it's definitely something that we've seen so much community coming together that I'm really hoping that continues going forward, even when we do get things all, reopened again.
Right.
I think this whole mindset of helping others and that we are all a community and we're intertwined, and, that whole concept is something that I really hope we continue.
I hope so too.
Yeah.
I hope so too.
All right. Well, I think we have our time is up.
All right.
And
thank you so much for having me.
It's been a great conversation. Just before we do go, though, I do want to mention your podcast. So you were saying that you, I was just listening to it actually this morning.
Oh, thanks.
You just started that during this period.
Yes. So one of the things we kind of did as a family, my husband and I, what do you do when you have some spare time and you're stuck at home? You start a podcast together. So we started the podcast probably first week into quarantine. It's called Down with the Dominguezes. We have a little behind the scenes help from our kids. They haven't wanted to be front and center on it yet, but we'll see how time that plays out with time. But it's called Down with the Dominguezes, and it's my husband and I just kind of talking about life at home, our careers, our hobbies. It's just sort of a realistic look at our lives together, and we share funny stories and sad stories. And our most recent episode was all about my husband's time serving in the Gulf War. So it was a Memorial Day special. So again, called Down with the Dominguezes. You can get it on Apple or Spotify or Google, or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's on all the platforms. So, and then if you want some support or encouragement to take that daily walk for yourself every day, I also have a Facebook group called Life in the Walking Lane, and it's where we share encouragement to take a walk every day and photos from our walks, selfies, just kind of a place to check in every day and share that you took that walk for yourself.
Right. Yes. Okay. I will put both of those. I'll put the links for both of those underneath.
Thanks.
The information underneath this interview when I put it up there. And that's great. Thank you so much for your time. It was great talking to you. And we will just, take it day by day and continue.
Day by day.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Michelle.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. Bye, everybody.